$13 billion. Just let that number sink in. That's the price tag for one single warship. So you gotta be asking yourself, what kind of ship costs more than the entire GDP of some countries? Well, this is it, the USS Gerald R. Ford. We're talking about the very first of a whole new generation of supercarriers. This thing is a 100,000-ton floating fortress, a literal slice of American soil that can project incredible power anywhere on the planet. So here's the big question, the real puzzle we're gonna unpack. If this ship is the most advanced piece of military hardware on the seas, why did it end up spending a year and a half stuck in a dry dock for emergency surgery? Okay, let's get into it. This is a story about a catastrophic failure, some truly mind-bending engineering, and what it really means for the world now that the Ford is back in the fight. First things first, you gotta understand why this ship is such a huge deal. The Ford isn't just a slightly better version of the old carriers. No, this is a complete revolution. It's a massive leap forward in naval technology. For starters, it generates 3 times more electrical power than the older Nimitz-class ships. And all that juice powers some real game changers, like the Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, or EMALS. This replaces the old, clunky steam catapults with what's basically a giant high-tech railgun that can launch everything from tiny drones to heavy jets smoother and faster. That power also runs a new dual-band radar that gives the ship a god's-eye view of everything around it. And get this, even with all that new tech, the Ford actually runs with 600 fewer sailors. That's all thanks to some incredible automation. Think about it. That's a huge savings in cost and space over the life of the ship, which makes it much easier to keep deployed for long periods. But here's the bottom line. The thing that really matters in a fight, combat power. The Ford can launch 33% more flights, or sorties, every single day, a third more planes in the air. In a real shooting war, that kind of tempo, getting more jets into the fight faster, could easily be the difference between winning and losing. So you've got this pinnacle of technology, this unbeatable supercarrier. What could possibly go wrong? Well, it turns out something did. Let's zoom right in on the tiny problem that caused a billion-dollar headache. So, picture this, it's early 2018 and the brand new Ford is out on its critical sea trials. They're pushing the systems to the limit when suddenly alarms start screaming down in the engineering spaces. The diagnosis was bad, really bad. One of the main thrust bearings had failed, forcing this brand new warship to limp back home. So what the heck is a main thrust bearing? The simplest way to think about it is like the transmission of the ship. It's this huge, incredibly strong part that takes all the raw power from 2 nuclear reactors and funnels it into the propeller shafts to push the ship forward. If that fails, you're dead in the water. And after all the investigations, the cause was just shocking. It wasn't a design flaw, it wasn't a mistake by the crew. The whole thing was traced back to a microscopic error in the manufacturing process. A tiny, almost invisible mistake that brought a $13 billion warship to its knees. Okay, so how do you fix a problem like that? It's not like you can just call a tow truck. No, this required one of the most complex procedures in the naval world, putting the entire aircraft carrier into dry dock. The sheer scale of this is hard to even imagine. First, you have to maneuver the ship itself, 100,000 tons of American steel, longer than 3 football fields laid end to end. And then, once it's in the dock, you have to settle that entire weight onto a perfectly arranged grid of massive wooden and concrete blocks. If you get the placement even slightly wrong, you could literally snap the ship's spine. The pressure is immense. Then you start pumping. Over 100 million gallons of water are slowly drained away, carefully, meticulously, to lift this steel island out of its natural element. And the whole reason for this massive, unbelievably expensive effort, it's all so workers can get underneath the hull to fix a single part, a part where the precision required is measured in thousandths of an inch. The contrast in scale is just staggering. You know, this whole process is basically a masterclass in engineering. From the tugboats nudging it into place to the final drop of water being pumped out, it's like watching a high-stakes ballet with a 100,000-ton dancer. But here's the silver lining. For the Navy, this crisis was also a classroom. They call it the learning curve. See, the first ship in any new class is basically a very, very expensive prototype. Every single lesson learned fixing the Ford's problems makes its sister ships, like the upcoming Kennedy and Enterprise, that much better, cheaper, and faster to build. So they fixed the ship. Awesome, but the story doesn't end there. Getting the Fords back to sea isn't just a technical win, it's a huge deal on the global stage. You have to remember what an aircraft carrier really is. It's more than a ship, it's a statement. It's a mobile airfield that can go anywhere in the world without asking for permission. Just its presence in a region can be enough to stop a war from starting. It reassures allies and makes adversaries think twice. So, successfully fixing the Ford, that sent a powerful message around the world. To America's allies, it said, "We have your back, and we can overcome any problem." And to potential adversaries, it was a clear demonstration of America's industrial power and its will to maintain its edge. And this is just brilliant. The Navy didn't waste a second of that 15-month repair window. While the main repair took over 800,000 man-hours, teams were swarming all over the ship doing other maintenance and installing system upgrades. They turned a crisis into an opportunity, and the Ford came out of that dry dock even stronger than before.
So, the USS Gerald R. Ford is back, cementing its place as the undisputed king of the seas today. But in a world where technology is advancing at lightning speed, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the next great leap forward? What will the supercarrier of tomorrow even look like?